We are live.
Hello, thank you for joining us. This is day 4 of Ignite Your Soul Connection, and we have a wonderful guest for you tonight. And before we get started, let us share our introduction. Thank
The
you.
divine source of the universe guides my life and all my finances. All is well, all is well. The divine source of the universe guides my life and all my resources. All is well, all is well. The divine source of the universe guides my life and all my finances. All is well, all is well. The divine source of the universe guides my life and all my resources. All is well, all is well. The
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you joining us tonight for another episode of The Wealth Factor. Today, we are discussing the third pillar of wealth, which is knowledge. So, if you were with us on Sunday, we gave you the overview where we discussed why we have to start at ground zero and where we are taking an actual look at where the stuck points are inside of our community and building wealth. And then on Monday, we had a wonderful conversation with Nan Shares Ray, who actually began to share with us the first pillar of wealth, which is family. Being able to build our families into an idea or a sense of abundance, wealth, and prosperity has to be one of our major focuses. Okay. And then last night, we had Dr. Tammy sharing with us the second pillar of wealth, which is health. It doesn't make any difference how much money you have or how much money you have or how much status you have. If you're not putting your health as a priority, you're actually not going to be able to enjoy all of that you're creating. Dr. Tammy gave a wonderful presentation on what it looks like to build health. And as she said, health is wealth. And now we come to our third pillar, and it's one of my favorites. Okay. And we have a wonderful speaker tonight. And we have had Lotus on our show many of times. So it's with great honor that I bring to you our senior coach, Lotus Love. Hello, Lotus.
Hey, how are you?
Hello. Wonderful. How are you?
I feel good today. I got my tea and I'm ready to talk to you all and just share space. And it's exciting when I get to be in the presence of you and my other Master Force coaches and our community. It's always very
Yes.
welcoming.
I love when we do this too. It's a chance for us to touch base with each other, to grow and learn together, to see where we are, to check in. So I love that too. And I love that we do this several times a year because it gives us a chance to come together in that way. So thank you for saying that. So, we've been having the coaches go through and introduce themselves. We think that everybody know us, and they do, right, in some aspects. But then there are those people who don't know us. Okay. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell people where you live, where you're from, what you do, and then also add your cosmic um, signature.
Yes. So, hey, I am Lotus Love. My business is Lotus Love Spirit Healing, where I provide coaching and classes to support you on your journey to really discover universal love, as well as tap into your spiritual gifts, tap into what your destiny is, how to give you tangible tools for you to be empowered to grow and actually begin to put the pieces together to walk on your path. And also, I like to do exercises with people where we take a look at some of those things that we try to call mistakes or missteps. When they are really your master teachers, I like to really,
Absolutely.
yes, let them
Mhm.
explore those master teachers. And um, you know, it's a journey and it takes time. And so I provide Reiki services, coaching, classes, womb care work. I also, you know, I'm an aromatherapist, body worker. I do a lot of things, right? Which this topic that I'm going to do, this wealth topic for today, knowledge is something that I really live in. And it shows a lot by all the things that I do. And, you know, where some people may not understand how they correlate, but for me, I need all of the things that I have in order to serve me, then my family, then the community.
Well, that's wonderful. And you know that I was laughing because I said, "Oh, that's right. It's right in line with your cosmic signature." So why don't you go ahead and share your cosmic signature with everybody?
Yes. So I am a Cancer sun. I am a Scorpio moon, and I am a Virgo rising. And I'm very in tune with that.
Yes,
My
you are.
mhm. Yeah, the older I got, the more my rising started to rise and appear, and I got to
Mm-hmm.
see, you know, where it sits in my life. Um, so my Myers is ENFP. So I'm, yep,
Mm-hmm. I can see that extroversion in you.
yes, but I also am
Mhm.
heavy. I'm heavily, you know, like reliant on yes, my being intuitive is the second highest percent, right? In that, but then my being very assertive is really like almost 90% of who I am. And not just
Mm-hmm.
assertive like in my personality, but just the things that I want in life. When you know my divine spirit and my highest self gives me a task to do, a desire, something I want to know, very assertive about it.
Yeah,
And, yep.
I can
And
see that. Yeah.
yeah, and then sometimes it you know like it may, as they say, a thirst for knowledge. It is something that is with me. It's like my assertiveness. And then my Chinese sign is the sign of the monkey. Yep.
Mm.
So I'm always like new ideas are like always coming out of me. Like I can look at a person and listen to them talk, and they may not have a direction of a thing, but I could hear like 20 or 30 things screaming about that person and ways for them to move. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I can be kind of pragmatic sometimes, but I'm very, you know, I'm useful, very, and I like useful information. Um,
Yes.
Yep, I like useful information. And sometimes when I find out things that I'm just like, really like, where did that come from? Why do I need to know that? I know that it will come later on. You know, it's like I store it in my memory
Well,
for
that whole Virgo, yeah, that whole Virgo is going to have you very curious, you
yes.
know.
And
Hmm.
the monkey
And the
is very,
monkey, and the monkey too. Absolutely, I
yeah,
agree.
very,
That monkey is going to
very,
be
very curious. Yeah. And being
very
the
curious.
monkey makes us excellent speakers and inquisitive, very,
Multitasking, which is
yes.
no real thing for real. But if anybody can do it, it's Geminis and monkeys.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Yep. And something that I found out that is so very true that I didn't really like look into it. We're very great workers.
Hmm.
And we give really good like professional advice, but if we don't feel like we're in the best setting, or we're not talked to properly in the best setting, then we will not, or we're not respected or listened to, then we don't give as much. Um,
That's that underbelly. Hmm. That soft underbelly. Absolutely. It's like,
mhm.
oh no, if you didn't get it the first time, you certainly won't get it the second or the third.
Yes, and I had to learn that through just, experience and reflection, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
when did you complete your Master Force certification?
I want to say it was either 2015 or 14. I think I know that I reached tenure. It was last year, or was it this year?
So that might have been 13. You might have been 20, fall of 2013.
Yep.
I do have that. I think it was fall of 2013.
Yeah. So I
Hmm.
just I just reached my
I think last year you were talking about your 10-year reunion. Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah. I
ready to
remember
keep
that day we met up at B Gabs and had that delicious banana pudding smoothie. Oh,
that
why
was
did I just think of that?
like a steak in a cup. I'm
It
pretending that
was.
my tea is that smoothie.
It was so big, wasn't it? That jar. Oh my God. And
Yes.
yes, you
I was
can't find
cleansing
that.
then.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
So I
I
needed my
remember that.
hearty things.
I love B Gabs.
Hmm.
Wonderful. So now let's go ahead and get into our conversation, where
Yeah.
we talk about wealth, and where we say wealth is often defined in monetary terms. Knowledge is the true currency, right? So now, when you look at it, in what ways have you used knowledge personally to increase your life experience? Because you started talking about it a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah. So in a few ways, things that I was curious about, I went forward to go and seek. First, spirit would give me guidance first, or put the idea in my heart. And that doesn't matter, no matter what your beliefs are, you have your own personal higher self, your own strong spirit that will lead and guide you and tell you where to go. And I was just always very aligned with that. But again, my cosmic signature really does speak a lot of that, right? And so I used to do things like when I would feel a thing, or when I was interested in a thing, I would like to write it down, even if I didn't know if
Mm-hmm.
it had a name. And I would be like, this sounds strange. What is it? And I would notice that because of my personality and me talking to people often and networking that I would then find someone that knew a thing or that I could relate to, right? And that was how I would oftentimes get into like different classes, right? Because I would start talking to people and people would share information with me. They would share information. They didn't always share the how-tos, but they would share what they could, or they would, connect me with a teacher of some sorts. You know, that was part of it, right? And then the other part is that all the things that I do in my business, all the things that I've learned, all the skills that I've acquired, I always had to go to the next level. Like I wanted more and more and more of whatever the thing was, more knowledge. And so how I would use that in my life was to, of course, first better me. And then I wanted to learn how to do things to share it with others. But I always thought about things that I wanted to know was clearly for me to use first, right? The knowledge being, yes, facts, information, skills acquired, right, through your personal experience and education. I would use that knowledge for myself first. How did it apply to me? I never removed myself from the knowledge. I never went into, things in that way. Even like when I think about with Masterforce, that was so divine that I knew I wanted to do work with other people. And so my spirit was just in aligned with being put in the program where, great, the first spirit you're going to work on is your own.
Isn't that, and I want you to even delve a little bit deeper in that, because a lot of times people think that knowledge is about what you put in your head and then you tell somebody about it, right? But true knowledge is about what you just said. How do I use this for myself? Go ahead and elaborate on that just a little bit more, because I want people to get that that's the most important thing, because education does not teach that in school.
Yes, definitely. I agree. And I have gone through many different programs, traditional school, Western school, Eastern medicine, and then other things, more so esoteric. And the Eastern and esoteric things that I learned, you always had to study, you always had to practice, and you practiced on yourself and each other. It was never, ever good enough for you to just read a thing and then that's it. You have to know it by experience first, because how can you then, how do you know that it works? How do you know that this is something that is real, right?
Yeah.
There's the place of where knowledge is one thing, wisdom is another. And so that part of everything I've learned in esoteric learning and Eastern, all the things required you to have knowledge, wisdom, and some patience. Like that was the
Patience.
that was a part of it. And if you did not, like I could think of a million times when I was in school for acupuncture, we spent 2 years studying about the points before we even touched it. You had to learn first, and then it was the application. And then after you learned it, when it got time, and you had to learn it on yourself and each other. Then when it got time for you to share with your community or patient, you couldn't just go and break out all the things you learned 1 point at a time. You could have known
1 point at a time,
200 points, but let me see you do this one. And it required a teacher constantly testing you, right? And so sometimes you have in knowledge, you have life as a tester. You have your master teachers, right? The ones that are not standing up cute on the podium talking to you, but the ones that may feel like it's causing and wreaking the most havoc or chaos or exploration of yourself. And then you have those teachers that are going to constantly just test you. Even now,
Mhm.
I still have that. And for me, I've experienced all of those. I've experienced nice teaching and testing. I've experienced not nice teaching and testing.
Right.
And I've experienced, and I'm right now in a space of where I welcome all my teachers. And
Mhm. And all lessons, because
yeah,
it's all for our highest good. It's like, oh
mhm,
yeah, you might not want that flat tire, but it's actually giving you an opportunity to see how you respond and see if you can maintain your vibration, even though you're having, somewhat uncomfortable moment.
mhm. Yeah,
But that's how we refine ourselves, in those type of situations.
yeah, I started back reading just a gem dropper of a place to just get some basic knowledge, but will last forever. I started back reading yet again the Four Agreements. Um,
Yes,
and I started, like everyone that I know that reads it, you're gonna read it 100,000 times.
at least, at least.
So this time I did not feel like in my spirit that I wanted to read it the same way. So what I had been doing is that when what is it? When life gives you lemons, you give it lemonade.
Hmm.
I started, and I've only been doing this for the last 2 weeks. When I would go through things that were very difficult, that was just like making me in my mind against one of those agreements, I'm like, let me go and read that. Identify
Oh,
what am I
yeah.
doing? I'm taking
Hmm.
this personal. Let me go read that part and then see where I'm at.
And then
Constantly.
release it, bring it up. That's great. And that leads to the next question, because I like you um, to give some demonstration when you, because everybody, we have all this free learning that we can do on the internet. There's so many, but we've been so used to someone else making us learn. How can you become a self learner and still feel like you are achieving and accomplishing what it is you need to know? So, yeah, how do you transfer into that? Because that was good what you were saying, how you went back to check yourself. Wait a minute, I'm supposed to be reacting differently. What's going on?
Yes.
Considering what I know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that part is that part. So
Right.
I want to say like um it's a bit of a combination of things, right? Like especially while you're trying to learn yourself, right? I think that some people are on the path to have this spiritual enlightenment. I want to walk on air, the clouds, and just respond this one particular way. And that's not going to happen. So, one of the things that I always say is start to study the self first so
Yes.
that when you start to study yourself first, it's just like learning what's your learning style, right? If you learn that you're a visual learner, then you know that you're going to do great with whatever you want to learn by book reading, watching like videos. That's going to be your main area. And there are
Mm-hmm.
lots of free tests online to tell you what is your learning style, right? The other thing is go and find those free apps to learn how to read your own natal chart. Get a comprehensive natal chart so that you can then know what is in your bag. Who are you emotionally? Who do you show up as? And so when people are talking to you, when you're trying to learn certain things, you know which part of yourself is represented, right? And once you get that, spend little by little breaking each piece apart with time and patience. Don't go trying to take it all in at once. Take your time. Another thing that I want to add is, and this one is a little simpler, finding out what day of the week you were born on.
Oh, yes. I forgot to put that in our cosmic signature. That is
Yes.
so important because Thursday is my day of the week, and there's certain things that I do on Thursday because that's my day and it's the highest energy. That's great. What day are you born on?
I'm an Abina.
That's
Abina.
Wednesday.
No, Tuesday.
That's Haruka Huti.
Mm-hmm. So
Oh,
I'm very again assertive, and Abina, you don't tell us no. Don't tell us
yeah.
no.
Yeah. Because it's going to happen. And that's the warrior. That's the marshal. That's the warrior. That's divine justice. That's the energy of that warrior Libra. You know what I'm saying? You know, like, listen, you did the wrong thing. I'm going to make sure you get it right.
Yes. So
Hmm.
when you learn the things like that, keys to who you are, again, whatever you want to learn, you know how best to administer the
Hmm.
information. How best is it going to come from you? I mean, come to you, right? I also
Right.
want to add learning what your attachment style is, because this helps you learn how you relate to other people and your behaviors. But it is helpful when you get into relationship with life's teachers. So
Yes.
yeah, so you know who you are. Like I'm a secure attachment style. So
Hmm.
I typically in my learning style, when I'm learning by myself or with a teacher, I'm very attracted to teachers who their style of teaching has a big piece of confidence behind it, where I can stay secure in what they're sharing with me. And
Mm.
I'm visual. So I need a teacher that's going to provide me with some visual resources so I can
Mm.
hear what you're saying to me, so I can connect with the information. If you just give it to me one way and I'm not connected to that, then I'm not going to get it. And so all of that, knowing yourself, helps you be able to approach whatever information in a way where you can accept it, because you know how you need it. It's as simple as, do you need a chewable aspirin or do you need a liquid aspirin?
Or no
How
aspirin.
or no aspirin at all? How's it gonna go down or not? Do I just need water?
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. Because I want to extend what you just said because you gave some really great insights. So when we're talking about the natal charts, we can tell people cafeastrology.com is a good place to go for you to actually begin to get your natal chart. And for parents, they need to do that for their children. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. Yes. It helps you know. There have been so many times that I love my children, right? But they show up as who
Yeah.
they are. And I've needed to go back and look at that information so that I know how to handle them, or I know how to, now going into something else, not take it personal when they are who they are. Like, it's not
Hmm.
I taught you this thing. No, this is who you are.
This is who
Um,
you are.
mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
And then also in that cafe astrology, you can also find the
That numerology as well.
Chinese to numerology. Yeah. So it's important. And then when you're talking about your children, it's not whether they're boy and girl or what their ages are. It's more important what is the energy that they are. What is their energy? And that going back to as well, when they're in the space of you, they're teaching you. So that energy that they have is going to bounce off of you.
Yeah, my children, they were definitely my they were some serious teachers. They are serious teachers for me constantly.
Mhm. Yes,
Yeah.
mine too. And then, okay, so was that it? Was that all you wanted to share in that part? Because you also talked about the importance of being a lifelong learner. How does one, do you think that's your signature? Can a person actually develop that for themselves?
Yes, you can. And I think that a lot of it is tapping into, like the childlike energy, right? When a child, you say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're saying all these things, that
Yeah.
child is really saying yes. And
Mm-hmm.
adults, we spend a lot of time like, I want to learn how to do this. Oh, I can't do that. I don't have the money. I can't do that. I don't
Oh, oh. Mm-hmm.
I can't do that. Nobody else I know does that. I can't do this because all of the things. For me, that's why I started off with when it would come to my mind and I would be like, "Ooh, what is that? That sounds crazy. That sounds strange." I would think those things, but I would write it down anyway because I'm like, I'm not a negative person. So if it's in my mind, that means there's something there and it's just not as developed just yet. Let me write it out so that I can start to collect information on it, right? That's the part of how you develop that muscle to do a thing where you let your thoughts around what you want to know and be curious about and say yes about, write it down. Write
Yes.
it down
Write it
and
down.
be okay. Write it down, be okay. If you, and
Yep.
what happens with that, it's a part of you bringing it actually into fruition by writing it down.
Existence. Absolutely. That's
You
right.
you
And
pull
so
it
yeah.
in, and then you'll pull in like you might have thought about being a ringleader, a
Mm.
ringmaster, and in a circus, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
all of a
yeah.
sudden, you start getting circus invites, you start meeting people that work at the circus, and then here comes the ringmaster that you need to
Yeah.
connect with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you
I'm
just
always
pointed out the way. Yes, right. That's the way the universe works. It's like
Mhm.
you have an idea. It's not whether you have the money or not. The universe doesn't
Mm-mm.
care about money. We already said that the true energy, right? Knowledge gives you that currency. So you have it. So here's an idea. I'm going to write it down. And you're right, as soon as you write it down, and if you want to add some meditation, there's some visualization, there's some affirmation, now you're increasing that potency.
Yes,
And that's
you are
all just in one sitting. Yeah.
yeah, you are creating the medicine, right? You are creating the medicine to make it happen. You're just writing out the prescription. You go to the doctor, you got the sickness, illness, disease, whatever it is, they write out the prescription. You haven't started taking the medicine yet. It's that prescription.
Mm-hmm.
You take it and go get it filled. Well, this is what you're doing. You are
Yes.
writing out your prescription to how to get to what you need. Um, I've told people that sometimes couldn't afford to get services or things from me. I would always tell them start praying on exactly this thing right here and watch that money come.
It's gonna come. That's I tell people all the time. I remember when I was wanting to go to college and no one in my family had ever went to college. And I would go over to the University of Chicago because I lived on 61st and Greenwood. And I would sit on the lawn and on the midway and I would do my homework there and pretend that I was in college. And I would talk to the students, and they thought I was in college, just having conversation. I was one of those hippie kids that had holes in my jeans, but I had a needle and thread on my jeans. So I would sit there and talk and sew the holes up on my jeans. It was so funny, but that was just me being inside of the college conversation. And sure enough, a year later, I was on my way to college. Not a dime in my pocket. but I went to college because the money will come.
Yeah, I had someone do me like that when I wanted to learn about herbs, and I had all the excuses for myself, and it was focused on I don't have the money, and I had this elder, very wise man. When he wanted to talk to me, I was waiting for him to like drop some gems and some resources. I just knew like, whoo, he gonna tell it to me, all of it.
Right.
He said, you want to learn about herbs? And so I leaned in. I'm like, yes. He said, study herbs. That was it. That was it. And so what I used to do, I would, because I live near the lake, I used to
Yes.
think about something that I wanted to heal somebody or something from, or I was curious, right? Well, I would go out the house and go to the lake, and I would let myself pick whichever herbs that I could find. I would go home, I would research what they were, and sure enough, these were things that were, parts of them that were used for what I thought of. And I started noticing
Yes.
that every time I would do that, it always seemed like it was a different set of things that was revealed to me.
Yes.
And I thought,
Yes.
I was just like, what is this that's happening? And I started in real time learning how attraction works,
Mm-hmm.
and really knowing everything that I need, I do already have.
And it comes to you easily. It's a matter of opening ourselves to receive, isn't it?
Yes, opening that channel. That's another. I just want to share. It's a
Right.
book, opening the channel,
Is
and
that by
that
Sanaya
yes,
Roman? Mm-hmm.
yep.
I love
That's a
that. I love her.
yes. I think
Mm-hmm.
that when was that book written? It's not new, but
Oh no, it's an old book. Yeah, I read that book
yeah,
when I was in Iowa almost. That was in the 80s. That was an old book. Yeah.
yep. I love that book. Nice book you
She
can
has a
read. So I'm
she has another one too called Creating Money. That's good. I'm glad you mentioned her
okay.
because I
I'm
love
gonna have to
her,
write that.
Sanaya Roman. Yeah, Creating
Um,
Money because she gives some really great exercises in that book.
Mm, okay.
And I still use some of them every now and then when it's like something I need to do. I say, oh yeah, let me do that exercise because some things just come to you when you focus in on them. You know, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're always in a constant overload. There's information everywhere. How does one practice critical thinking? How do you use discernment in what you're learning? How do you know who you should listen to and who you should not listen to?
Yes, I actually love it. I love that question. Couple things. I like to observe people a lot,
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
that is one thing that's very helpful. If you are talking to me about how I should learn how to be more calm, and you give me all these books and all this information, right? And information seems good, but then I see you in your life and you are going off, flying off the hinges at every state and chance you get, like little things like shorting you a penny, you know, at the gas station, and you are flying off, then I don't necessarily need just my discernment. I'm watching what I've experienced. I'm using the knowledge, because knowledge is facts and information and skills acquired through experience. If I'm
Mm-hmm.
experiencing or having knowledge of you not being a calm person all the time, then I'm not going to learn about being calm from you directly. I may learn that this is not what I want to do, and I need to go learn from somebody else. So thank you for that part, right? So
Right,
I
right.
so I would say looking at people's lives and what they are doing, how they are responding, or are they very reactionary to all the things? Um, if I see a person who is, they may not be quote quote the master, whomever, but I like what I see along how they talk, how their life is, how I may be able to perceive them. Then I may ask them things like, do they have a teacher? Is your teacher open to taking more students? What books are you reading? I'm asking about, can I go with you when they're going to a workshop? Is it free? Is there a cost? Do you have an extra ticket? Can I serve to get in that thing, right? Again, I'm the monkey, I'm assertive. I'm going to do all of those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm using discernment and I am using, knowledge. What are you showing me? And I'm going to always research it, I'm going to research. And then my favorite thing, honestly, to do is, I'm going to always pray about all the things. There's some things that I had been trying to achieve for 20 years, and finally the things happened. And I prayed even when I felt very weak and I felt like, my God, is this going to happen? Are you going to send me who I need to learn from? And I prayed every day about, please send me a teacher. And at the time, I didn't have the greatest teacher. I had a teacher that was a little cantankerous, and that's okay. I learned from them a
You
lot.
can learn. Yes. I was going to say something.
I learned, I learned some real, some skills from them that I use still.
Yes.
And I realized that was,
one of the biggest secrets is being able to learn from and work with difficult people. That's a skill.
Yes. I had to.
You hear people say all the time, I don't want to deal with that. You cutting yourself off from a whole lot of stuff when you do that.
When I tell you, that was one of my greatest experience. It kept me in line and on my toes. To be in that situation. And even now I can go back to some of those things and I can say that was a part of a foundational lesson that I needed now. And
Absolutely.
Sometimes when people think that you are on the other end of, you're someone's teacher and you're difficult, and they're like, well, why is this person bringing this hardship? Like, no, that person is like trying to get all that gook up out of you. Like, not to say beat it out of you, but just get it out of you so that you can be a blank canvas where anybody can come and paint on it and you can see your own colors.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes we're hard on ourselves because we think that we shouldn't be resistant, but being resistant is part of our growth too, because it's part of protecting us. It slows us down so that we can analyze, so that discernment can kick in, so that we can, it's kind of like how you're teaching a young person, I'm thinking about my grandson, teaching them how to bowl, and you have to get the thing, the binder, what do you call those things, on the bumpers on the side so it can go straight down. You have to do that at first so that they can see, if you put it there and you roll it down, it's going to just go straight. Now, after you take the bumpers away, you'll be able to do it yourself. But they have to use that for a while. And that's how the universe does it with us sometimes. Okay, you got to have some resistance a little bit until you can learn for yourself. Then you can soften.
Yes. I learned that. I could do a whole segment on, I had to start to have my own experience and knowledge of, I started paying attention to the teachers I attracted, not just what they gave me. That was one, I was always very strategic about who was going to give me what, but why that style of a teacher. And I learned parts of who I am. I needed that rules and regulation from her so that when I had students and people that I had to guide, if I saw them doing a thing, I had to just be able to be straight up about it.
Yes.
You know, I had to have that balance, and I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
do it the way she did it,
Yeah.
but I needed to build that muscle because it's like lifting weights. When you put the resistance bands on the exercise machine, it's gonna make you stronger. You're not as
Yeah.
free with how you move it in the weights, but it allows space for freedom later.
Yes. Yes. And you get, and the stronger you get, then, the stronger the bands you have to put on, so the stronger the lessons come,
Yeah.
and then sometimes we get the same lessons just so that we can see for ourselves, oh, I reacted different this time. I did
Yes.
grow. I did
Yeah.
see that differently. It
Yeah.
doesn't have as much of an emotional grip on me as it did before.
Yeah. Or the
Right.
times when you get to say, oh, I still ain't got that. I got work to do.
Uh, I mean, I remember some lessons. I'd be like, okay, Father God, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not. Mm-mm. I'd be like, I'm not looking over there. Okay, leave me alone.
Yes. Yes.
I need a
But
breather.
but then here come them teachers, and
Here
I'm
come those
thankful for
teachers.
I'm thankful for, like you always chime in at a moment in time where it's like, okay, let me go back to, you might not have said nothing about what I was moving through, but I can think of what you taught me and apply it to what I'm going through now. And I tend to be that way about the stuff. People
Yeah,
represent not just themselves, but the information that they have.
absolutely. I tell people, I say, my public charge to coach people is much higher than when I'm working with coaches, because I can just say to a coach, remember such and such, and they're coaching themselves. All they needed to do was get a sounding board from me. But when you're working with the public, now you have to teach them the concepts. And then you have to make sure that they can give that concept back to you. Then you can make sure they have to practice. You see, so it's a lot more that goes into it. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh no, there's a lot more time and energy.
Yes, I agree.
you know. Yeah, so that's good. So now, knowledge isn't just about memorizing facts. It's about cultivating curiosity. And we've talked about this a little bit, but the more curious we are, the more we are open to diverse perspectives and growth, right? So you
Mhm.
mentioned a few places where you've been curious, but in what ways have curiosity increased your wealth factor?
Oh, yes. Well, so I can start off with I'm gonna say I'm gonna use Reiki the first, right? Because I had to gain the information and classes and yes, certifications, blah blah blah. Um, but it provided me clients, right? To financially support me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it provided me with students, but on the other side of wealth, being knowledge, it opened up the door for other gifts and things that were inside of me, waiting for this one thing to
To
show
move
up
over.
and
Wow.
move it over. So I did not know that I was a diviner um,
Mm.
until I remember the first time I was doing, and I always got messages for people, but I also would tell them to tell it to shut up, and I wouldn't pay attention, right? But it one, I did. Oh, I could write a whole book about that. How to try to shut yourself down, right? It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
work,
yeah.
but
No.
um,
Mm-mm.
so I remember doing an energy session with someone, and I really respected this person, and I really was so into it. Like I would give it all that I had, and I was used to keeping messages for myself. Like I'm not getting past that. But it got so loud while I was working on this person where I had to acknowledge that I was able to divine in on this person and get information that was supposed to be for that person. And when I tried to ignore it, my throat chakra
Oh, yeah.
blocked up, right? All the way. And I kept trying to do that until I realized, okay, I cannot do this. I have to say it. And then that opened up even another level of learning about who I am because of my natal chart, the Virgo rising, ruled by Mercury. Mercury is governing communication. No, ma'am, you're not going to hold
Right.
on to messages for people. You're meant to share them. Reiki opened up the door for that. It also then opened up the door for me to learn about crystals and oils. And when I
Yes.
had all of these different things, that then it became a like I needed to have a packaging space for that thing. That's how I got into coaching. Because I got all of this, and this needs a space here. And then I got a whole nother set of things that it needs a space, but this is the one that is I'm activating all the time. I
Yes.
need space. So when you start saying yes to the one, you saying yes to
Wow.
the all the things that comes up.
That is wonderful. I mean, it goes into my next question because I was going to say the balance between book knowledge and experiential wisdom. While books and knowledge and academics are important, life's true wisdom comes from lived experiences. Knowledge gained through personal trials, mistakes, and triumphs is irreplaceable. And that's what you just demonstrated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and most of the time, and I'm sure you've heard, my story about when I broke my hip, thigh, and knee, because that was the initiation into Master Force. But it happened when I was 17. So I wasn't, I was living the experience. I had no idea it would become a curriculum. But when that experience happened and the teacher brought me that book, and he said, I know this might be too deep for you, but if you read it, it might make a difference. And Lotus, when I tell you I only read 3 chapters, and 3 days later, I'm like, can I go home now? He said, not so fast. We have to put you in a body cast. You got to wear this body cast for a year. But then because of what I learned, I was able to use that same information that taught me how to communicate with my body.
Yes.
And I learned that in reading a book. And then I thought, after I got out of the hospital and was home and been on with my life, I said, why aren't they teaching us this in school? This is the real knowledge right here. Everything else we don't. And remember, and I share it all the time, but the name of that book was The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. That's another one that I still read on a regular basis. I have several books that, every year, I got to read it. And then I'm excited because that book is actually an audio book on YouTube. you know. So I want people to really hear how we use knowledge to move us out of, certain aspects of ourselves that have gotten in our way from being abundant. We've gotten in our own way.
Yes. And I will say that one way that definitely I got in my own way for sure. I didn't travel for like 12 years because I had this
Oh,
fear, like I
wow.
had 12 years, like, I had all these fears, like being away from my children. What if I can't get to my babies, meaning my parents, right? All of these things. But I am a soldier for healing. I
Yes.
know that about myself. And I laughed when I finally caught the drift about the gist about what was going on. I had got hired to do this job for Girl Trek, right? We off into the mountains, serving 600 Black women in the mountains, right? I went because they hired me to do a job for 4 days. Okay, great. I'll come, fly in, fly out. Everything is okay, right? I get on the road to get to the airport. First thing that comes to my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I got to turn around. My children are at home. Duh, you left them because you're going out of town, you know? So I get over that, get on the plane. I get to Colorado and I go to sleep 2:00 in the morning. First day there, my brother has a stroke, a heart attack. He's 100% Black. Okay. Those are reasons that I didn't want to leave. I wanted to run back home. And I calmed myself down. Everything was handled, right? The next day, when all the other guests came, I get off into the mountains. We just got through saluting and praying and everything, right? 600 Black women peacefully in the mountains.
Right.
The very first step I took to start moving into the mountains with these 599 other people, my mother calls me. My father goes into the hospital. Something happens with his heart. Completely broke down, crippled at that point. I got to go home. I lost all of my healing thoughts, words, meditational. I'm running home if I got to. If you can't fly me out of here, I'm getting out of here. And it took someone else to cry like a baby and sob and be vulnerable. And there was one person that Lotus, can I sit with you? No, right? I was still connected to my energy. I knew how to advocate. No, not you. That's who I want to cry with. And then another person came and prayed for me. And the knowledge of allowing someone to say a blessing and give words to me, I had to surrender. I had to let go. I had to do the best that I could in that moment. I had to accept what I couldn't change. I had to trust that everything was going to be all right while I was in that. And simultaneously, my sister then started having something happening with her heart. And I was used to being able to get to them right away. And there was nothing I could do other than pray and surrender.
Yes.
That taught me. That was a very hard.
Now, did you stay? You stayed for the full trip then?
I stayed for the full trip.
Wonderful.
I even hurt my own self, and I fell down the mountain trying to prevent an elder from falling down the mountain. I slid down.
But you came back. You still, you still. You know, that is a tough lesson, and all of us at some point in life have to go through it to choose ourselves. And I think it had to be in my sophomore or junior year of college, and my grandmother called and she was like, "Your mother is missing." Now, my mother had been mentally ill all of my life, so she'd come up missing at least once a year. That was just, and we find her, in some hospital up north, or see her on TV on the news, she in the middle of something. So when my grandmother called and said, your mother is missing, you need to come home. And, it's my grandmother. And I said, okay. And I get off the phone and my spirit says to me, right, what can you do when you go home? What can you do? What difference does it make if you go find your mother? Now, I'm in college. Nobody else has ever gone to college, right? You go find your mother. And now, can you come back to college? I mean, it doesn't really work like that, right? You're going to lose some lessons, some time. And I had to call my grandmother back and say to her, Grandma, I'm not coming. I said, but I'm sending so much. I wasn't doing loving like then, but I said, I'm praying for her. And I had to go into, I was meditating strongly. I had to go into a strong meditation just to release the guilt that I felt.
Yes.
I felt this, like I was forsaking my mom. I mean, it was really strong, and I had to release that. And I did, and I stayed in school. And that would have been different because I would have went home and probably never have come back to school. People do it all the time. So that was a wonderful story, yeah. And we have to choose ourselves. And then when you do that, the universe says, "Oh, good job. Now let me give you this opportunity. Let me give you
Yes.
this opportunity. Let me take you over here." That's because you said yes to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Wonderful. Now, is your mother, is she still with us, and your father, are they still with us?
Yes, when I get off the
Wonderful.
phone, I'm going around the corner to do my father's feet. It's late, but
Beautiful.
I'm going to do it.
Oh, that's wonderful. This true wealth lies in empowerment and in knowledge, and it actually unlocks this power. Now,
Hmm.
you have actually used your knowledge to increase and empower your community. And
Yes.
I know this. What ways have you did that? When you talked about Reiki, what are some of the other ways that you've used your knowledge to empower and make a difference in your community?
Yes. So I want to start with maybe what's more recent, more recent. Getting 75 doulas trained for free so that they can go and save lives in the community to definitely shift the mortality rate for birthing people and their babies. And so me doing that work, I had been a doula since I was 12. I didn't know
Yes.
that's what it was, but
Right. The language came later, just like empaths. We were empaths our whole life, but we didn't know it. We didn't.
we didn't know these things. Yep.
Right.
So um I actually when I had fallen last year, broke my foot ligament, tendons, and ankle. Um, it called in that energy of stop over here, come on into the space over here, and
Mm.
opportunity came, the wisdom that I had that I was not at that time, I wasn't trained on. I just knew what to do because it was what was given to me. It was what the women in the family did. It was what I saw, it was what I knew. And I ended up being the program coordinator at Chicago Volunteer Doula. And so by doing that, I was able to, over the course of just this year, 75 men and women of all, white, black, brown, um, Middle Eastern, getting them trained to serve the community. Because I can't go and save all these babies and they parents, but if I train all of these people, then you can go and do and fulfill the mission that I have. Um, like I've used my sound healing to do community events oftentimes, and there's that. I have so many things of over the years, even without me even doing service. I remember when um, Flint, when we just found out about what was happening with that water situation, and I remember using my intuition and tapping into my cosmic signature water sign, right? Cancer moon, Cancer sun, Scorpio moon. That connection with the water, I kept dreaming about water over and over and over. And I'm like, what is this? Right. And
Yes.
I found out about what was happening in Flint, and I had used my voice to express something that I wanted and that spirit was giving me. And I ended up having a whole big gathering. The news came out. People used my gathering as a hub to drop off water. Um, someone had donated a free Mack truck for me to go back and forth to Flint as many times as I want. And we drove
Wow.
that truck into that community. We didn't have no help, but when we got there, it was a team of young black men that was following us. I was scared at first because I'm like, they were like, we saw you and we've been following you. We finna help you. And everywhere we went, they was jumping in and out that truck. We dropped waters out
Mm.
to senior homes to the projects. We were knocking at people's doors, bringing elders water that couldn't come out. And, like you cannot die with this knowledge and wisdom. You must learn it for yourself. How is it going to change your life, heal you, support you, then your family, then your neighborhood, then your community, then the world? It starts from you learning and being activated and saying yes to your destiny.
Yes, that is so powerful. And when you were talking, I was trying to see where this book is, because one day I was I've moved to Michigan. I
Mm-hmm.
live in Michigan, right? And I love the community that I live in. I'm about 10 minutes from Detroit. But anyway, I was walking. I like to go thrifting. And so I was coming back from the thrift store, having little bags, and I walked past this salon, and my spirit said, go back and get your nails and toes done. And I was like, I wasn't doing nails and toes today. My spirit said, go back. So I walk in and I say to the person, I said, do you take walk-ins? And the guy says, no, we don't. And I said, okay. And I was going to leave out. And the lady came from the back. She says, well, wait a minute. She said, let me look. And she looked in the book. Yes, we can take you. I said, oh, okay. And she
Because
turned
today
out
was
to
the
be the
day.
owner. Right. The day was a date. So I sat down and she said, would you like some tea? And I'm one of those people, I do 100% of all experiences. So yes, I will have some tea. I will have some tea. And so I'm sitting there and drinking the tea. And then a few minutes after I got set up and they're running the water, another woman walks in. And they knew her. She was familiar with her, and they sit her right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And she's on the phone, she's doing some stuff. And then she puts this book on her chair. And it's about the crisis of water in Detroit. Or in Michigan, the crisis of water in Michigan. And it's about the Flint, so I'm over here, look, me, I'm looking, trying to, So when she gets off the phone, I ask her about the book. She was one of the authors. She was one of the authors of the book. So we talked about that. But then she had to have toe surgery, not toe surgery, but she had an ingrown toenail. I sat there and breathed with her. And the owner was like, that's why we needed you here today. Because the whole time that she's like, I'm holding her hand and we're breathing. And I'm teaching her breathing, diaphragmatic. And the guy was like, oh, well, we learned that in the choir. I said, yes, this is what we're going to do. But we're not singing. We're going to breathe.
We're living. We're healing.
Yes, I made me a friend. I mean, we just fell in love right in that moment. Right.
Yes.
And then she gave me the book. And I said, okay, I guess I'm about to get on a mission again. But that's how spirit leads us into the next thing. Because I could have kept walking. I could have just said, no, I'm not doing my toes today.
Right.
It could be for a number of reasons. But I didn't. I've learned to, like, that first voice. I practice listening and acting on that first voice instead of saying, oh, I wish I would have listened to my first voice.
Yes, it's another level of saying yes. Even I think of Masterforce when I came in, I guess 11 years ago, that I had my designated coach and I had my designated person that I was supposed to be studying with. Whole thing got flipped around. You became my coach, and my destiny, based off all of my cosmic signature things, talks about how I'm not to deal with middlemen. I'm always going to, like how you walked in there and got the owner. That's how I'm always. It always happens like that, even down to the person who I was supposed to be studying with. It was a friend of mine that we didn't even know that we were doing this together.
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 And she was your buddy?
She was already my buddy in real life.
Yeah, but I'm saying in the chorus, she was your buddy.
She,
Was she your buddy in the chorus too, or no?
she she didn't start off that way, but my buddy had stopped doing the chorus, so I
Oh,
needed a buddy.
yes.
She became my buddy.
After that, isn't that wonderful?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that. You know, and I look, all of my mentors are grandmasters. All of my mentors, you know, it is so interesting, um, you know, because to have them on speed dial, you know, and to have them, you know, and I was telling my son, I was like, man, you know, all these people, and he said, well, Mom, how long have you been doing Master Force? I said, well, how old are you? Because I started
Yeah.
Master Force when he was 10, right? He's well over 40 now, right? And he said, you're also that, you know. And I said, yeah, well, I'm not. I still learn like I'm the student. I'm always the student, you know.
Yes.
And I can hear that, but you know, I love the idea that, like you saying, I can reach for those people. I can actually be, you know, there's no middle person,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Now, we've talked a little bit about emotional and spiritual intelligence, but what ways do you teach others that support them expanding their emotional and spiritual acumen? You've shared a little bit, but I'd like you to share a little bit more, so that people can hear, you know, the expansive nature of wealth. Because knowledge, you know, most people say, oh, well, I thought y'all were going to talk about how I can invest or how I can, you know, but, you know, before we even get to those places, we have to be in a state to receive, like we talked about, surrendered state. Because sometimes you can try to give somebody something and their resistance will not allow them to receive it.
Yes, yes. And so even in teaching people, I've had people come to me and I had to learn this at first. I want to say I would try to force a fit, but I was very excited about what I knew and how I knew it would transform a life. I then had to learn, once I had enough people who did not get a thing because they weren't ready, and I didn't have the wisdom at the time to say that to that person, right? That at that moment you weren't ready for me or this journey. You still saying yes to another journey. I then learned book wisdom for sure. When people would come, I would ask them to invest in themselves by, here's a series of books that I want you to read. Then come back to me, right? Invest in that way. And just having that knowledge, it actually changed them where they were ready to elevate in their spirit by being able to be put in a state, in a mind, in a mind frame, right? By reading. The other thing is, don't cheapen your experience when it comes to your spiritual journey. Don't go thinking that it's not going to take your energy and even finances, right? Because you may have to do things like you might pay for somebody's meditation class or a meditation app, right? If you're not ready to be out in the world, put aside a little bit of money to invest in that. If you want to be put in a tranquil mind or spirit, you might want to go look into buying yourself tranquility candles or Googling on YouTube how to, what are some essential oils to support your spirit while you're trying to do that, right? The other thing is really, when it comes to your spiritual side of yourself, you have to, it's a muscle, right? Saying yes is one, listening to the messages that come through. Meditation is another one. You don't need anybody. There is an app, I believe it's Calm, the
Yeah.
Calm app.
Mm-hmm.
That is one that is nice. You can
Headspace is another one.
Yep,
Headspace.
I love
Mm-hmm.
Love it. You can share those with other people to actually do it with you, maybe not at the same time. That was one of the ways that I really got my spiritual intelligence together in meditation. And
Yes.
there were so many things about myself that would come to me. And, I did not force myself to try to be this meditation master and I'm going to meditate for 14 hours. No,
No.
because
No.
within the first 5 minutes, you may think you're meditating, but you're not. You're just now getting your spirit just kind of like not even settled in.
Well, your
But
mind yeah, that monkey brain is trying to make sure everything is right.
yes, and then you're gonna have the phones are gonna ring, people gonna just start needing you.
Mm.
And then once you make it through the first maybe 7 minutes, now and you've set in it. Now your body and mind and spirit is like, okay, now we're ready to begin the process, right?
Mhm.
Of getting there. Another tool as far as with your spiritual health that I want is your spiritual health and investing in that part is things like being mindful of, and I'm sure Tammy spoke about this yesterday, but things that what are you consuming? What is your spirit consuming? What are you putting in your body? What are you putting in your mind, right? It does affect everything. So that's what are you listening to? What kind of foods are you eating? Are you, having too many libations? All of those things, it does play
Also,
a
how
part.
many are you having too many sex partners and sex itself? People don't realize that abstinence gives you so much more access to what's
Yes,
inside, especially if you're not with a committed partner.
yes, it lets you really tap into yourself because what happens is that one person that if you are sleeping with that one person, but they're sleeping with 10 people, you're now sleeping with 11 people,
Mm-hmm.
essentially.
And
Which
all of that
which
energy.
is coming to you, which then leads me to the other part, which is after you have if you've been out in the world at a gathering, a party, at work, you catch the train back and forth, you have a lot of energy, a lot of spirits that are near you and on you. And so one of the major ways to easily get those things off you is to bathe in some Epsom salt and baking soda. Little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Get
Mm-hmm.
all that off you. And not only are you clearing your spirit, but you are balancing yourself because you're getting the magnesium in your body, right? A
Yes.
lot of times people who are
Yes.
going through anxiety, which is nothing but a spirit
Mm-hmm.
that's not balanced, that feels unregulated, if you do that, it's helping you balance out that part of your spirit, right? And just bathe in it and imagine yourself or connect with getting off the things. You can sing in the bath. You can
So,
pray.
oh
Oh,
my God. That used to be I don't have a tub where I live, but I did get me a sauna blanket, a sauna
mhm.
that I can go in. Because what you're talking about is so nurturing to
Yes.
that heated water with the oh my goodness. Yes. See, you just took me,
Yes.
because I missed that more than anything.
Yes.
That and
Go to
King
a nice.
Spa.
Yep.
They don't have a king. I haven't found it yet, Lotus. I gotta find it.
Oh,
I have not found it yet. Yes,
oh,
I haven't
oh
found
my
it yet.
goodness.
I know. I
A hotel.
gotta find it.
Hotels might have
I can go to my
they
son's
might
house
have
if I just
those.
want to get in the bathtub, but I'm just talking about that whole experience, And I used to put the candles in there and put
Yes.
some lavender in there and put the music on. That's my
Yes. Yes.
that's my date night. How I romanticize the space. You know?
Yes. You should. You should.
Yes.
I want to I want to add too that I taking a walk, right?
Oh, yes.
Getting out in nature to release things from your spirit that you don't need. And then I want to go back to again the saying yes and the saying no. Like you can listen to your body when you get that feeling, because this is now you being of integrity to your gut, your spiritual body. When you get the yes, I can do this, I should do this, I want to do this, and it feels good, yes, go about the cabin. You know, if you got to make plans on how to get there, who to do it with, and all of that, that's fine. But when you get that no, and no is a complete sentence all by itself,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
no, that is honoring your spirit, because a lot of times when people are sometimes making the wrong decisions, right? A lot of times it's also because you have weakened your own spiritual gut health, brain, because you've been telling it that it's not activated, it's not right, it doesn't know, because you second guess yourself. When you've
Yeah,
been
and
told
we
yes,
cater. Yeah, we learned people pleasing growing up as children, and many of us go through all of life pleasing people and never being satisfied with ourselves. And it's
mm-hmm,
because of what you just said.
mm-hmm, yep. I had to learn that. And I have to constantly check myself if I get in that space, again, that cosmic signature, whatever it is, once you start just breaking it down, that's also good for your spirit. All those
Yeah.
things, I know. I'll just use, my sun sign is a Cancer. Which way do Cancers walk? They walk sideways. So when I'm walking sideways with a person, I either can't trust them, I'm insecure about something.
Wow.
Right. You got to break it down. Break it
Mm-hmm.
down. My healer is for my emotional state is water, because the element,
Mm.
it's water, but also if you are prone to try to hurt my emotional space, Scorpion, I could sting
Oh
you if
yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to. So if I'm thinking about that,
Yes.
if I'm feeling that, this is now, I'm tapping into my spirit. I'm using all the intel about myself to
All the
then,
intel.
yes, yes. That is knowledge. Your self-knowledge is important. It's not being selfish, it's being aware. And that is where wisdom comes from. Because if you are
Mm-hmm.
aware of yourself, you can make good judgments. You can move with the place of being self-experienced. So you already know certain things. You don't put yourself in certain situations, and you're able to tell and move in your spirit's yeses and its nos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so important to learn how to have those boundaries so that you can protect yourself, and keep a safe space to be you.
Yeah,
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 and sometimes you got to say no. I mean, most of the time you got to say no.
yes,
And
yes.
I know we get to the top of the hour. Oh my goodness! Now,
Time always flies.
I know. Do you have any current programs or initiatives right now that people can engage with you in?
Yes. So actually, the winter solstice, I'm going to have a sound healing session. If you are in Chicago, I'm going to have it at Mama Africa's Marketplace. And I'm pulling up all of that. It's at 2100 East 71st Street. It's on December 21st on the winter
Do you have a
solstice. So we're going to have,
flyer or something that we can post on the? Can you have that we can post on the page? Okay, just send that to me.
yep. Okay. You want me to
And
email
that's
it or in your
uh,
messenger?
however you do it, I'll get it. However
Okay.
you do.
Yep.
I'm gonna put it on our Ignite Your Soul Connection page.
Okay. Yep. I will do that. You got me like looking at my thing.
And when is that? So that's coming
That's
up
that's Saturday,
the
December 21st.
21st.
Doors will open up at 6. We'll get started at about 6:30 with sound, affirmation, um, and just some healing techniques. I usually do something else every year for the last 15 years. I've done something else on the solstice, but they're not having that event. So now I'm doing something on my own.
Okay.
I'm also, yeah, so there's that. I'm also doing a Love Your Body. So that is a community detox, which is happening January the 11th through the 31st. That's virtual. I will send you the flyer. So we're going to
Okay.
just do 21 days of healing, loving on your body. We'll have herbs, we'll have affirmations, meditation. That is something that is coming up. And the other thing that's happening is I will be starting top of January the womb care classes where you will learn how to do a proper yoni steam, learning about how to heal.
Ooh. Are you gonna do yoni eggs
Mhm.
too? Yoni eggs?
Yes,
Oh,
we
good.
do. Yep,
Yes. Send us that too.
we talk about
Yeah.
yes. So we do that
Hmm.
in there. We do steaming. We teach you fully about herbs, aromatherapy. We teach you about how to really heal the traumas of the wombs from yourself, the things that happen to your mothers and grandmothers. Most times, women don't know that whatever you are going through within your womb, that trauma you've gone through, somebody else in your family has already. And you may
Oh,
not know.
yeah. And it's a lot of energy in the sacral chakra, that we if we don't deal with it, you know, if we don't deal with it during our menopause, I don't like that term because it's really not what that is. But if we don't deal with it during that time, you actually create more challenges after 60, because
Hmm.
after 60, all of your reserve goes down to nothing, right?
Yes,
So you want to spend that time during menopause, you want to spend that time learning yourself, really noticing your habits, seeing where you have that negative input. Because if you're still drinking, I tell people, if you're still doing alcohol the way you did when you were a youth, you're really cutting off your life source.
yes,
You really have to
yes,
start changing and looking at, so part of the work is that our pain from childbirth, from molestation, rape, all of that settles in our womb, in our hip, in our sacral chakra.
yes.
And
Yep.
you're going to get all kind of issues if you don't. And the universe, again, keeps bringing it up. Okay, this is what's going on. If you run to the doctor, they can't heal that because this is a spiritual issue.
Yes. I had someone many years ago that was coming to get yoni stains from me. And they went to the doctor, and the doctor was able to tell them that they had 7 fibroids, 7 really huge fibroids. Through
Yeah.
the spiritual work, we were able to find out what happened. It was someone who protected her from something that was happening, someone who was trying to violate her, ended up having to serve 7 years in prison for protecting her. And she was carrying that inside of her.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Every and we got to that from doing this work. And so it was it is a lot. It
Yeah.
is
I
a
had I went to Northwestern Hospital and my mother had died and I was got ill, and I'm thinking this grief, and go to Northwestern. They said you have 8 tumors.
mm,
And the largest one is the size of a small grapefruit. And she
mm.
said, we want to do a biopsy. I said, just write me the prognosis. Girl, I went right to Chinatown, right to Chinatown. Dr. Young, This is what they say going on. He said, oh, you want tea or pill? I said, tea. He said, tea bitter. I said, man, I've been drinking your tea for how many years? Give me the tea. He went and chopped up the
Right.
mushrooms. This is when they were chopping it up, right? And putting it in the bags and telling me
Yeah.
how much. He said, here's 3
He gave it
packages.
to you. He gave it to you raw.
The raw, and to boil it and drink on this. Girl, when I tell you the next day those things start dropping, and I scooped one up. I got to show my daughter, I put it in a bag and put it in the freezer. Cause it was like, like a sack. Like, I was like, wow. And it just won't, you see, and they make us think, oh, you got to go through all this and we got to cut it out and you got to have a hysterectomy. No,
Yeah,
you
we
got to
talked about
let
that.
go. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to let go. And I did. I had to let go of the grief. It was so many things going on at that time. And I did the T, I did the whole MEPS, the whole life
Yes.
quadrant, just all of it that's involved.
Yeah.
In 30 days, I was back to myself. And that's what the healing process looks like, For me, that's what it looked like. It's different for everybody. And that's why what you stated earlier, knowledge of self is important so that you're not looking over here saying, I'm going to do it like her. No, you have to do it like you would do it.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, what is your social media handles? How can people get in touch with you? How can they find you? Because they're going to want to find you. All this stuff you're doing.
Yes. So on Facebook, it is Lotus Love Spirit Healing, Reiki, and spiritual readings. So
Those are
that
2 different
puts you
sites.
where. No,
Or
that's
is that
one.
okay?
Lotus Love Spirit Healings, Reiki, and spiritual readings. Yep, that's that page on Facebook, and then on Instagram, it is Lotus Love Healing. Yep, I wanted it to be Lotus Love Spirit Healing, but somebody had already taken my name, so Lotus Love Healing. It is me with white scarf and glasses on.
Okay. And now, do you have any final words to share? You've been wonderful in sharing knowledge and how you use knowledge and how you take knowledge out in the community and how it's made a difference for you and how it has expanded your wealth factor. What else?
Mhm.
What is the final word that you need to share with our listeners?
Yes. Final word I want to say is to be patient with yourself
Mm.
and with others. Don't rush through any of this learning of yourself, and don't judge. What is that? We listen, we don't judge, right?
Yeah.
Don't judge your journey that you have been through, right? It is not going to look like somebody else's. And someone who looks like they're doing something with so much ease is probably because they are in their zone. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's why it looks easy for them. But that does not mean that it has been easy, right? This person
Mm-hmm.
has gone through many of things to get to that place. And so if you find yourself starting to feel impatient with yourself because you're watching someone else's journey, which then could lead to you being jealous of that person, you might need to learn from them. You might need to sit at their feet, or you might need to ask them, especially if they know you. And I love doing this, asking people who I think know more than me, or they are in their mastery of a thing and they know me. What book do you think that I should read to support me? What do you think from your expertise? That does, it activates their wisdom, because that means that in order for them to recommend something for me, that means they've read it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so they get to teach me and also share with me what they think of
That's a very
right.
wise approach.
It's
Absolutely.
it's hmm the other thing is as far as that being patient with yourself part is don't try to compete with anybody but yourself, right? Because you'll never have what the other person has. Everybody has their unique signature, right? We all got our
Yes.
own destiny. We have our own cosmic signature. We have our own purpose that before we got here on this earth, we decided this is who we are going to be. So it is best that you learn who you are and understand that other people that you manifest around that are doing things different or similar, they are just a simple reflection of the small pieces to make up the whole you. So don't try to be them. Don't try to be a small piece of the makeup of you. Get to know you so you can be the big you that you are.
That's right. Be your big self.
Be your
That's
big
right.
self.
That's right. Bring it on. I love that.
Mhm.
Now, you shared a couple of resources, the four agreements, and then opening to channel. Do you have any other resources you want to share that you think people would need? Because when you said that, like, oh yeah, and cafeastrology.com for natal
Yep.
charts.
Your natal chart,
Yeah.
the Meyer Briggs,
Yeah, Myers Briggs. You can
Myers.
actually, yep.
Yep,
Hmm.
that look when you look that up, look for the free one because there's some that people want to charge. There's a
Yeah,
free
that's
one.
right. There's free ones, and it's actually 16 personality types is another name they go by if you can't get the Myers Briggs, but it's the same technology. Yeah,
Yep.
wonderful.
I want to say, um, I said the four agreements. I want to
Yeah.
say, look, one of my
Oh, learning styles too. You suggested that people actually go online and take a quiz or something for their learning styles.
yes, learn your learning style. Also, I said too for you to learn what is your attachment style, so you know learn how you
Attachment
relate.
styles.
Yeah, how you
Hmm.
learn how to relate to people and also relate to yourself and know the parts of yourself that how you're prone to react in situations. And once you do that, you can actually go on YouTube and like find all kinds of videos that
Everything. We love YouTube University. We swear by it.
yes, yep, yeah,
Absolutely. We swear by YouTube.
yes.
And what I want to say is what I've got from this is silence, solitude, and studying
Mm-hmm.
becomes our first action after this conversation. Silence, solitude, and studying.
Yes,
That's what you actually that's the work. Go in silence, get rid of all the people and all the stuff, and then go and study yourself.
yes,
Learn
yep,
how cool is that? That's a great date night too.
yes. I love that. And
Mhm.
I love that. And I love, there are people in my life that I can do that with. I can, when I'm in study mode of a thing, I
Oh
call those
yes.
shut up dates. We go be together and we don't talk. We got our computers, we got our books, we got our notepads.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
we do this at the beach sometimes, sit in
Yes.
meditation, don't say a word
Yes.
to each other, and we have things like, oh man, I forgot water. The other person's like, I brought water. I didn't bring no snacks.
Yeah.
Well, I got
I got
fruit.
snacks. Yeah.
Yeah, you're in alignment.
That's right.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Lotus Love, for such a wonderful conversation. You did absolutely marvelous with this topic.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much. And I won't be in town for the solstice, but you'll probably see me this spring. So we'll have to schedule something, you know.
Yes, I have a
We'll
big
figure that out.
I have a big surprise for you then. I can't tell you now, but it is a
Okay, don't
big
tell me now. Okay. So yeah, so I'll be ready for it. It's only a couple of months down the road, right?
Mhm.
Wonderful. And I want to invite our listening audience. First of all, I want to thank you for just being with us this week. We've had some marvelous information come forward, and we really have just one more session where we're doing a fourth pillar tomorrow with Tanisha Legault Williams, where we're going to focus on the fourth pillar, which is time. And
Mhm.
then on Friday, we have our full panel of coaches where we're going to come back with some learning aids, some solutions. We're going to give you access to how to get started on the first pillar, the second pillar, the third pillar, and the fourth pillar. So, be sure to tune in with us on Friday. And then to look at any of the previous episodes of Ignite Your Soul Connection, go to our YouTube channel. It's that same name, Ignite Your Soul Connection. Okay. And just thank you. And we'll see you tomorrow. And shout out to our producer extraordinaire, because I tell you, having somebody else on the other side does make a difference. So, good night, everybody. Thank you.